Did you know our dogs speak loudest with their bodies? I know some of their barks can get quite loud, but aren't you curious to know what they might be saying with their body language? If so, you're in the right place. Because today I'm going to be teaching about body language signals nervous, stressed, fearful, or anxious dogs exhibit when they are in need of comfort or support from their humans. A dog's goal, besides trying to tell you they need support in exhibiting any of these behaviors we are going to talk about today, is either to calm themselves or to look bigger and scarier in an attempt to send the scary thing away. That's it. Period. End of story. Contrary to popular belief, dogs do not want to be dominant, in charge, or hurt anyone. They only want to feel safe. If a dog ever does escalate, it's typically because early warning signs they displayed were ignored, which is why today's video is so important. If you can learn to recognize the signs in your dog, you have a better chance of catching the situation early enough to keep it from escalating, or even stopping it, while also comforting your dog. It's true, dogs don't speak like we humans do, but they have a very advanced ability to communicate with each other using very subtle body, eye, ear, mouth, and tail movements. We often miss these signals, but other dogs rarely do. Have you ever noticed two dogs, and it looks like they're just standing there, but then one of them walks away? I guarantee there were some signals between them, using mostly their eyes, but maybe also some body posture and lip movements. I find dog communication fascinating, as you've probably already guessed, but it is also one of the things I believe all pet parents should learn, because it gives so much insight into our dog's emotional states and helps us better understand the things they're trying to tell us. Plus, once you know what to look for, it's not nearly as hard as other foreign languages. Hi, I'm Amy from How to Speak Dog. I'm a canine behavior consultant and trainer, and founder of How to Speak Dog, where I help families living with dogs who struggle to listen learn how to teach their dogs the canine life skills that will improve their dog's listening skills and stop all those feelings of embarrassment, overwhelm, frustration, and worry caused by their dog's bad behavior, without spending hours and hours training or using methods that just don't solve the everyday problems pet parents face today. Since 1983, I have transformed thousands of foster dogs, client dogs, and my own dogs with bad behavior into dogs who listen and respond reliably, no matter where they are or who is there. I'm here to help you transform your dog's behavior too. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the new free training episodes I put out here every Tuesday. Let's get started. Understanding your dog's emotions and being able to respond in a way that supports your dog and gives them a sense of security and confidence is one of the kindest things you can do for your dog, and not just when they are stressed. When you respond appropriately to your dog's body language signals, it strengthens the connection between you, and they learn to trust you more and more. To understand your dog's emotions, you have to know what their body language signals mean. So how do you learn those signals and what they mean? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We'll talk about what body parts they use to give us clues that they are stressed, nervous, anxious, or afraid, ways you should respond so you're giving your dog the right messages of comfort and support, and how you can learn more. It's pretty common knowledge that a dog whose ears are back and tail is tucked between their legs is not a happy dog. But have you ever wondered why dogs yawn, lick their lips, sniff the ground, or turn their heads away? The logical explanations would be that they're tired, that they're licking their lips in anticipation of something good, or after they've finished something good, and they're sniffing because that's just what dogs do. But did you know that all of those can also be signs of a dog who is uncomfortable? By exhibiting those behaviors, they are trying to improve their situation, whether it be to calm down themselves, another dog, or even us. The technical term for these and some other behaviors are appeasement gestures. The difference is in the context of the situation and other signals the dog is exhibiting. So not only is it helpful to know what the signals our dogs give mean, we also need to know what they mean in different contexts. Sounds complicated, but that's what I'm going to simplify for you today, specifically for nervous, anxious, fearful, or reactive dogs. So let's talk about what parts of our dog's bodies we should be looking at for clues. Let's start with body posture. A nervous or stressed dog will typically crouch and lower their body to the ground, or stand with their body leaning slightly forward, depending on how nervous or stressed they are. Though they may be leaning slightly forward, their full weight will not be on their front end. This is so that they are still able to retreat if the situation becomes too much for them. Some dogs will display piloerection, which is where the hair or the hackles on their back stand up. In longer-haired breeds, that's very difficult for us and other dogs to see. Now let's move on to ears. We all know that ears flat back on a dog's head is an indicator that something is wrong. But also, when the dog's ears are out to the side, slightly down, and maybe slightly back, or moving back and forth, especially rapidly. When their body is leaning forward, Their ears tend to be more erect and forward too. The other thing we have to keep in mind is the type of ears the dog has. Because we humans have bred these dogs for years for certain physical traits, ear shape being one of them, we have changed the natural ear placement that other dogs expect to see. So not only is it difficult for us to understand sometimes, it can also be difficult for other dogs to read correctly. For instance, dogs with ears that stand up naturally make much more subtle movements with their ears than, say, a hound dog whose ears naturally hang down, or dogs whose ears have been artificially made to stand up but naturally would be down. It can be really difficult to notice their subtle changes in ear placement. Let's move on to eye changes. Eye changes can be very difficult for us to notice, especially on a walk, but other dogs read them quickly and easily. A nervous or stressed dog will first harden their eyes and then progress to what is called whale eye. This is where the whites of the dog's eyes are showing. Looking away or averting their eyes from whatever is stressing them out is another indicator that a dog is under stress. Dogs with extra long hair, especially when it covers their eyes, can make those eye signals even more difficult to read. Now let's talk about mouth signals. A dog who's relaxed and has their mouth slightly open and suddenly closes it is either noticing something or telling you that what you just did made them uncomfortable. This happened with Minnie the other day at the vet. Every time we visit the vet, he tries to interact with her without a muzzle first. This particular time, she was doing well. He was facing the counter. I was at the end of the counter facing the opposite direction, and she was on my lap facing him. She was only about a foot away from him, and she was only panting slightly. So he slowly turned his body towards her, which she seemed to be fine with, and then as he brought his hands up to interact with her, she immediately shut her mouth, and he said, "Nope, still need a muzzle." That was still progress from previous visits, and she recovered much more quickly after we left that day, which is another good sign for a dog learning to be calm in situations that usually make them anxious or stressed. Another sign is when the sides of a dog's mouth get tight, and when they're barking, it sort of forms an O, and because of that, their barking sounds more like woo, 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 woo. That's a fearful bark, or a bark trying to send something away. Baring teeth can start from a simple lip lift and escalate all the way to a full baring of teeth, this time with the sides of the dog's mouth being pulled back. Lip licking or tongue flicking is an early sign of stress in a dog. They may just very subtly flick their tongue in and out, lick their lips, lick their chops, or even their nose. Let's move on to tails. Everybody now knows that a wagging tail does not always indicate a happy dog, but the pace of the wag and the level of the tail compared to the dog's natural tail carriage that suddenly goes straight up in the air and is stiff, not moving, or very slightly wagging, almost as if it's vibrating, is a good indicator of a nervous or stressed dog. Of course, a tucked tail is a sign of a very nervous dog, although all nervous dogs don't always tuck their tails. And again, the physical changes that we have bred for, like tails that curve over a dog's back, those tails are already standing up, so it is difficult to determine emotions using just tail position. Not to mention all these breeds that we either shorten their tails or completely cut them down to just a nub make it difficult for us and other dogs to read. When a dog is nervous or stressed, each of these body language signals rarely happen individually. So again, not only do you have to take into consideration the signals being exhibited, but the context in which they are happening. Because just like we have more than one meaning for certain words that are spelled or sound the same in English, some of these canine body language signals have different meanings too. Today, we focus specifically on signals that nervous or stressed dogs typically display. But there are some other behaviors that are not specifically using one body part that I want you to be aware of. They're called displacement behaviors in the context of a dog who is uncomfortable in their situation or environment. These can include sniffing, yawning, scratching, or digging. Alone, all of these are normal behaviors and not really indicators of stress. But when any of the other indicators are present and your dog seems to be trying to ignore the stressor by suddenly sitting down and scratching or sniffing, what they are trying to do is focus on something to calm themselves down. So now that we've talked about the body parts and how dogs use them to indicate stress or nervousness, the question becomes, what should we do, right? Unfortunately, for many dogs, some people still believe that you should ignore any fearful or anxious behavior. They believe by giving your dog attention when they are exhibiting these nervous or fearful behaviors, you are encouraging those behaviors. The fact is, you can't encourage emotions, only behavior. I will post a link below to an article that explains this in more detail. But this is where I think a lot of people get confused. But the behavior being exhibited is because the dog is stressed or anxious. But comforting is not the same as reinforcing or encouraging a behavior. The fact is, no one can learn until they are calm and able to focus. So they are not learning to repeat a behavior because you are trying to comfort them. You wouldn't ignore a friend or a child when they're nervous, would you? So why does it make sense to ignore a nervous dog? What that really shows them is that they can't count on you when they're in need of comfort and support. So please, comfort your dog when they need it and don't worry about encouraging bad behaviors. However, your dog's fear, anxiety, or stress does eventually need to be addressed in order for your dog to live their best life. So in the moment, comfort them, but also come up with a plan to help them learn not to be anxious or afraid in the future. How can you do that? You can start by learning to observe your dog's body language in both calm and stressful situations and take note of what is different. You can Google dog body language. There are a ton of resources, But as we all know, not everything on the internet is accurate. So always use your gut check. If it doesn't sound right, or seems harmful, or just doesn't feel good to you, skip it and find something else. There are plenty of books that can help you too. In fact, I'll link one of my favorites below. It's called Calming Signals for Dogs. It was very helpful to me when I first started learning canine body language. You can also hire an expert to help you. There are plenty of qualified trainers out there, but again, please use your gut check and don't let a trainer convince you that it is okay to do anything harmful to your dog, including anything that just makes you feel uncomfortable. I did that myself way back in the day with my labs, and now I know better. You can also join our new membership for barky, reactive, and fearful dogs. And not only will you learn about body language signals, but also strategies that will help you deal with your sensitive dog immediately and in the long term. There will be a link to it below as well. So let's recap. We've covered all of the body parts that dogs use to signal to us that they are stressed and in need of our support. Whether that be comforting them, removing them far enough from a stressor so that they can calm down, or teaching them that they don't need to be afraid because we have the situation under control and have their backs and will keep them safe. We talked about the many things you can do and different resources available to help you start to learn your dog's body language signals and what your dog is using them for. If you're looking for more information on how my power principles can help you and your dog, I invite you to check out my website, which is linked below. To get started right away, you can check out the mini version of my Power Principles framework, a 1-hour self-paced digital course called From Chaos to Calm. For a limited time, it's on sale for only $17. I'll link to it directly below too. And finally, I'm so excited to announce that I've just created a membership with my partner Linda from Wow Bow Wow that is going to be the coolest place to be on the internet for all of you dog parents living with dogs who are reactive or just don't listen. This month we're starting with a small group of founding members so we can fine-tune it and have it ready for you all later this summer. If you want to be updated on our progress as we go along and be the first to know when the doors officially open, join the waitlist, which I'll link below with all my other resources. As always, put your questions in the comments so I can answer them, and I hope you found this training useful today, and I would love to hear your feedback once you've tried some of these things. I put new training videos out every Tuesday, so if you don't want to miss any episodes, remember to hit like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. I've asked YouTube to recommend the next best video for you to watch, which you can get to right here. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you right back here next Tuesday for our next episode.